Donald Trump's shady dealings with airplanes rears its head once again, also exposing Donald Trump's very dark past when it comes to how he's dealt with his planes and the manipulation and potential criminality there too. So here's what was just reported, that Donald Trump sold his private jet to a Republican donor amid a cash squeeze, originally reported by the Daily Beast, then reported by The Guardian, MeidasTouch, and others. It says how Donald Trump transferred ownership of his Cessna Citation 10 worth $8.5 million to $10 million to a holding company tied to somebody by the name of Mehrdad Moayadi. Who is Mehrdad Moayadi? Well, he is a massive Trump donor, a massive GOP donor. Also notable from this story, what it doesn't say is, sure, Donald Trump's Cessna Citation 10 may be worth $8.5 to $10 million on the market, but what did this Trump MAGA donor, Mehrdad Moayadi, actually pay for it? I think that's something that the independent monitor in the New York civil fraud case must, should, and likely is looking into immediately. Here's what the article states. Then let's go into Mehrdad Moayadi's background. Then let's go into more of Donald Trump's shady dealings with his own airplanes in the past. So this is not the larger airplane in Donald Trump's fleet that you see the words Trump on. This is one of his smaller jets right here. And it says, with more than $500 million in court fines on his back, Donald Trump has sold one of the two private jets he owns to a major Republican donor. According to FAA records, the former U.S. president transferred ownership of the 1997 Cessna Citation 10 on May 13th. While it's unclear how much he sold the plane for, the private aviation company EvoJets estimates that Citation 10s cost about $8.5 to $10 million. Well, that's wonderful that EvoJets makes that estimate, but when you have a MAGA Trump donor buying this jet from Donald Trump, I think an important question to ask is, was he paying market price, or did he pay more than market price? And is there more than meets the eye here? Let's keep on reading. Well, FAA records do not name an individual who now owns the plane. The agency lists a Dallas-based holding company called Fleet Holdings LLC as the owner of the plane. The Daily Beast tied the company to Mehrdad Moayadi, an Iranian-American real estate developer in Dallas. FEC records show that Moayadi donated nearly $250,000 to Trump's re-election campaign in 2019 and 2020, and records show that he also donated millions to other campaigns, including to Ted Cruz's Senate re-election campaign and to the Republican National Committee. Trump's website still boasts the Cessna Citation 10 as a rocket in the sky that allows for entry into smaller airports. Trump still owns his Boeing 757, his main jet emblazoned with his name, along with a small fleet of helicopters. So when you have billionaires or decamillionaires like this Moayadi guy who is donating to Donald Trump or cozying up to Donald Trump, does that benefit you with tax cuts? Well, what kind of lifestyle is Mehrdad Moayadi living? Well, this is the house Mehrdad Moayadi is reported to have bought in 2019, the same year that Donald Trump was getting about the $250,000 in donations from him. Just take a look at that house. It has a water park in the house in Texas. Moayadi's a Texas real estate developer. Here's some other photos of the home. It has a full court basketball court inside the home, a full water park inside the home. Just standard stuff, right? I mean, come on here. I mean, just take a look at some of the stuff. Here's how it's described as well in this article. A 4.3 acre estate, about 37,000 square feet mansion. It's got 10 bedrooms It's got 22 bathrooms, 10 living areas, 4 dining areas, a 10-car garage. Wow, I was mistaken. There's 2 basketball courts, a tennis court, a gymnasium, and a bowling alley. It also boasts a water park, and get this, a lazy river, right? So when Donald Trump and MAGA try to act like, oh, we're here supporting everyday, no, they're not. They're supporting people like Murad Moyadi of Centurion American. There he is right there. But let's talk more broadly about Donald Trump's issues as it relates to his airplanes. Remember, we reported back on May 14, 2024 here that Trump's other plane, Trump Force One, hit a parked plane on a runway, as Ron Filipkowski, our editor-in-chief, jokingly wrote. Good thing Trump only hires white male pilots, because all the MAGA people and the MAGA influencers were saying that they wouldn't want to fly in jets that were flown by African Americans. I mean, that's what Charlie Kirk was out there saying. I mean, how horrific is that? Here's the article that we reported on a few weeks back. Trump's plane clips parked plane at Florida airport. Former President Donald Trump's Boeing 757 clipped a parked private jet at West Palm Beach International Airport on Sunday, according to the Federal Aviation Administration. This was back a few weeks ago. Aircraft taxiing winglet struck the rear elevator of a parked Vista jet, the FAA notice reads. The notice lists the plane's registration number as the tail number is N757AF. FAA registration records show the plane is registered to DJT Operations 1 LLC. So we did a deeper dive, of course, into Donald Trump's dealings with airplanes, and Rob Pyers, who compiles a lot of these political action committee contribution filings. Donald Trump, for the fourth quarter of quarter four last year, spent nearly $2 million of Mr. and Mrs. Magadonia's contributions on the airplane, about $1.66 million funneled from donors to help deal with Donald Trump's plane, to pay for his plane. And so if that's happening every quarter, I mean, you're talking about anywhere between $5 to $10 million annually from Mr. and Mrs. Magadonia being funneled to Donald Trump's airplanes. If that 1.66 million number is a quarterly number and you multiply it by 4, that could be as high as $10 million or so going to the airplane. But let's talk about this Business Insider article about potential tax schemes regarding Donald Trump's airplane. In April, Trump said his private jet LLC was worth no more than $1,000. Then in July, he said it was worth up to $25 million. And you also know that Trump's Political Action Committee is also apparently funding parts of the jet as well. 2 sets of Trump's 2023 financial disclosures show vastly different valuations for a number of Trump entities. The first disclosure, filed in April, was Trump's required filing as a presidential candidate. The second one, in July, revised the statement made by the first. The most extreme example is TAG Air Inc. The company is one of a number of Trump entities associated with the Boeing 757. In April filing with the Office of Government Ethics, Trump claimed that the TAG Air had a value of $1,000 or less. Then in a revised July filing, Trump valued TAG Air at between $5 million and $25 million. So in a 3-month period that elapsed between the two disclosures, Trump's estimate of TAG Air's value jumped by a factor of 5,000 or more. But the fact that Trump was valuing TAG Air at $1,000, the holding company of a purported 757 jet, I mean, this is going on in 2023. And I'm sure Donald Trump in future actions and lawsuits will go, this is rigged. This is all rigged. The government saying that it was valued at $1,000. It's worth $2 billion, the 757. It's like, this is what your valuations are.
More energy, less abdominal fat, and better health without having to totally restrict your diet or lose lean muscle? Yep, it's a real thing. It's Prolon. Introducing Prolon, a revolutionary plant-based nutrition program that nourishes the body while making cells believe they're fasting. Researched and developed for decades at the University of Southern California. Hey, that's where I went to school. Their Longevity Institute and backed by leading U.S. medical centers, Prolon helps promote healthy blood sugar, support cardiovascular health, and reduce abdominal fat. But Prolon isn't a diet. Prolon is science. Science based on Nobel Prize-winning discoveries in medicine. And this all starts with Prolon's 5-day program. Snacks, soups, and beverages all designed to keep your body in a fasting state. It's unlike anything you've ever experienced. I noticed a significant boost in my mental clarity and physical performance after completing Prolon's 5-day program. The convenience of having everything I needed in one box made it incredibly easy to stay on track. And right now, Prolon is offering the MeidasTouch podcast listeners 15% off their 5-day nutrition program. Go to prolonlife.com/Meidas. That's prolonlife.com/Meidas for that special offer. That's prolonlife.com/Meidas. MEIDAS.
And what we know from the tax returns that Congress was able to get their hands on, just look at the taxes that Donald Trump paid, or I should say didn't pay. In 2020, Donald Trump paid $0 in federal income taxes. In 2016 and 2017, Donald Trump paid $750 in federal income taxes. And you know what the $750 is? That's the filing fee for the taxes, basically. $750. Donald Trump claims, I'm a big businessman. I make the best deals. Trump claims that he lost $32 million, that he lost $12 million, and that he lost $4 million, he claims, to justify paying $0, $750, and again, $750 in taxes. I want you to think about that. I'm not done talking about Donald Trump's dealing with his jets. I want to lay out the case for you, and then you can make the decisions on your own. I just want to provide you the evidence, the data, in Donald Trump's own words, in Donald Trump's own filings, what he's saying. So let's take a look at some other shady dealings that Donald Trump has with his plane. We work with we collaborate with Now This on a lot of stuff. So here's some footage that Now This unearthed, showing what Donald Trump said and did to this. Just watch this. A woman who walks on stage, and Trump tells the story about how he hired a beautiful teenager to work on his plane. And this footage is footage from over a decade ago. I think this is from almost 2 decades ago. But this is what Donald Trump was saying at that time about his jets, and I think this was taken several years before Donald Trump ran in 2016. Let's play the clip.
I have a question. My question is, how many jets do you have, and how would I advise you flight attendants?
I think she's hired. You're hired. I have a case. It's very interesting. A beautiful girl who was 17 or 18 applied to be a waitress. She's so beautiful. She's like a world-class beauty, like the young lady who just asked a question about the actress. She's so beautiful. And my people came, she said, "Look, Mr. Trump, she has no experience." So I interviewed her anyway, because she was so beautiful. And I said, "Let me ask you, do you have any experience?" She goes, "No, sir." I said, "When can you start?" You can work at my plane anytime. Hey. See, now, she worked at my plane. That's like a death wish for me, right? That's like an alcoholic. I have many friends here, wonderful people. They're alcoholics. You put scotch in front of them. It's like, this would be my form of alcoholism. Okay, yes, ma'am.
Okay, and Donald Trump Also, when he was taking public airplanes, one of an individual at the E. Jean Carroll trial by the name of Jessica Leeds talked about how Donald Trump sexually assaulted her on an airplane. And Donald Trump was asked about that at his deposition in the E. Jean Carroll case. And here's how Donald Trump responded. Play this clip.
Just got in former President Trump's video deposition from last October in E. Jean Carroll's civil case against him. The jury saw this video yesterday, right before both sides rested their case. Let's listen to just some of what the jury listened to.
When you said in that video that Ms. Leeds would not be your first choice, you were referring to her physical looks, correct?
Just the overall. I look at her, I see her, I hear what she says, whatever. You wouldn't be a choice of mine either, to be honest with you. I hope you're not insulted. I would not, under any circumstances, have any interest in you. I'm honest when I say it. I would not have any interest in.
This comes as the judge in this case is now giving the former president until 5 p.m. Sunday to decide whether to take the stand after he told reporters yesterday that he's, quote, going back to New York because of the case.
And here is someone named Brian Butler, who worked for Donald Trump for decades. He no longer works with Donald Trump. And he talks about how Donald Trump, when he stole the classified documents from our government, when Trump stole these classified documents, moved them to Mar-a-Lago, Donald Trump would put them on an airplane, and he would basically fly them and hide them. But listen, this Brian Butler worked for Trump. He was very close to Donald Trump. He left after seeing Donald Trump's behavior after working for Trump for decades, as Trump was taking our nuclear secrets, American war plans, and putting them on airplanes and flying them around. This is how Donald Trump uses these airplanes, which we know now are also funded by Political Action Committee money. And some of these airplanes are now being acquired by GOP donors. Here, watch what Brian Butler had to say.
And then what happened is Walt left before me, and he never goes directly to the plane. He's either in the motorcade or when he goes there with the boss, which the former president. And I remember telling him he left the club with, I didn't know what he had in his vehicle, but he waited for me at a nearby business, and I told him I would tell him when I was leaving Mar-a-Lago. So I left Mar-a-Lago, I texted him, hey, I'm on my way. He followed me, he pulled out and got behind me, we got to the airport. I ended up loading all the luggage I had, and he had a bunch of boxes.
You noticed that he had boxes?
Oh yeah, they were the boxes that were in the indictment, the white banker's boxes. That's what I remember loading.
And did you have any idea at the time that there was potentially U.S. national security secrets in those boxes?
No clue. No, I had no clue. I mean, we were just taking them out of the Escalade, piling them up. I remember they were all stacked on top of each other, and then we're lifting them up to the pilots.
How many boxes was it?
You know, they asked me in the interview, and I believe it was 10 to 15 is what I remember. I know
They
it
being
was
the investigators.
Correct.
And when you look back on that now, what do you?
Well, I had no clue until probably the end of June. There was a few different things that happened that kind of opened my eyes to, something's going on here.
So you get that unusual request. Did you ever think to yourself, why were there so many boxes at Mar-a-Lago?
For me, I'm just thinking, the former president, he has a lot of stuff he likes to lug around with him. I never would have thought it was anything like what we see now.
Classified documents.
Yeah, I mean.
So judge for yourself, but I wanted to lay out all of those facts for you. Hit subscribe. Oh, let me show you this one. This is Charlie Kirk. Remember what I said earlier about the MAGA influencers' views on airplanes? Let me just play this for you. Charlie Kirk, play it.
And that's why I think this United story and the DEI story hits so hard, because we've all been in the back of a plane when the turbulence hits, or when you're flying through a storm and you're like, I'm so glad I saw the guy with the right stuff and the square jaw get into the cockpit before we took off. And I feel better now thinking about that.
You want to go thought crime? I'm sorry. If I see a black pilot, I'm going to be like, boy, I hope he's qualified.
Well,
that's the
you
game
wouldn't have
theory
done
I was
that.
talking
You
about.
wouldn't have. You
No,
wouldn't
and
have done
that's
that
not,
before.
That's not an immediate.
No, you wouldn't
that's
have done
not
that
who I
before.
am. That's
No.
not what I believe.
It is the reality the left has
But
created.
And that's someone who's very close to Donald Trump, by the way. I mean, Charlie Kirk is very close to the Trump campaign. He leads the youth outreach program for Trump and for MAGA. He's the face of MAGA youth, MAGA Gen Z, MAGA millennial. I mean, he's their guy. And that's the types of stuff that he's saying anyway. Hit subscribe. We're on our way to 3 million subscribers thanks to your support.
Love this video? Make sure you stay up to date on the latest breaking news and all things Meidas by signing up to the MeidasTouch newsletter at MeidasTouch.com/newsletter.